All right, everybody, we're back. We're live. It's been a couple months. The summer is starting to come to a close, or at least my busy time outside is coming to a close. And so I am ready to rumble. Get set up here. It's been a while, had to update, had to do things. And I wanted to come back with some topics. And so today I want to talk about heating aquariums, and are we heating them too much, or I don't know if we're heating them too much, keeping them too warm. And first I got to start with, we're talking about freshwater community tanks. We're not talking about saltwater. We're not talking about brackish. We're not talking about axolotls. We're not talking about super niche discus tanks. We're talking about community planted community tanks here. And yeah, there's a big mix that can go into there. And so, like, what I'm seeing is power bills are going up around the world, and mine included. And looking at, do I need to heat the room this much? Do I need that heater to heat them to that much? Is it, it's been real hot? Is it getting too hot? So like my 800-gallon aquarium, for instance, with no heater, still was throughout the summer hitting like 82-ish just from lights. Like the lights I run on the 800-gallon are almost 600 watts of lights. And if you're a saltwater person, you're like, back in my day when I was doing metal halide lights, I had that same problem. And so you maybe have some of that problem going on. And I want to talk about what contributes heat to your aquarium, and then also maybe some of the species or things that we want to do around that. So, I asked a question. We had over 100 votes so far. They're coming in. Some people answered before we went live. Are you heating your aquariums? And we're going for a most there. Like I'm heating one aquarium. Is that true? No, because even the 800-gallon isn't anymore. So no aquariums have a heater for me. I heat the room heat, mostly cool right now. But as I was surveying my fish, most fish don't need to be heated. So like in this tank behind me here, I've got the longfin red rosy barbs. I've got some different tetras. I've got rainbow fish. I've got a few different plecos. And about the only thing I think I'm scared of taking too cold is the ellipsfer eel. It's not out of education or like, I researched it. It's out of, I would hate to lose that guy. I was looking for him for so long that would be a big bummer. So out of fear. And so the temperature that, is the standard, right? 78 degrees, I think runs fish too warm for a lot of species. It's a no-brainer when you're talking about celestial pearl danios and maybe goldfish and maybe other danios. I'm trying to think of reticulated hillstream loaches. There's a lot of fish that don't want to be that warm. Not that they won't handle being that warm, because they'll handle it. It's, what's the preferred thing? And I think we would rather keep them warmer than cooler, because we're afraid if they get too cold, like there's side effects, right? I think we see a lot of side effects at too warm or warmer than they want to be, but we pass it off as something else. So maybe you've got waste building up in your aquarium. Well, when they're warmer, they eat more. So that would be, in that side effect. When it comes to aggression, like angelfish are a common one. We say this in the store all the time. If your fish are breeding all the time, usually they're kind of at each other's throats trying to protect the fry and all of that. And by turning the temperature down, so maybe you're at 78 to 80, getting it like 73, 74, usually it's cool enough they stop breeding. And when they stop breeding, they're less territorial, which means they're not biting on each other's fins. And I think there's a lot of fish that you can basically keep in that breeding mode year round that burns them out early and gets them beat up and things like that. And so if we look back many years, we used to keep most things unheated because we didn't have good apparatuses. And so if we look back to history, if it didn't live in our climate, it didn't make it, right? Then we started using fire. We basically started using candles and other things on slate bottoms to try and add some heat to see if we could, keep different things or have better luck. I don't think we at the time knew, oh, I'm going to get a tropical fish over here. I got to keep it warm. Mostly, would it do better? And so then we got, kind of primitive heaters. Some of the most primitive heaters, Dean's got some of these, were like a light bulb in a capsule to separate from the water. Then we're using bimetallic strips and things like that to where we are now. Lots of digital stuff. But by adding the heat, we assume we're doing better. And I think we were originally. I think if you didn't have, let's rewind like 100 years, 50 years, something, right? Maybe 75 years. We didn't have the ability to even heat our homes as well. We were relying on maybe fireplaces. And so if you had an aquarium that was too close, it got too hot. If it was too far away, it got too cold. Building standards weren't the same. They were, not heated nearly as well because of that. So we probably needed the candlelight heat. We needed primitive heaters. But as we developed those technologies, we also got the thing of like, oh, a hang-on back filter, aquarium lights. These things do add heat to our aquariums. And so let's say we were keeping aquariums between 55 and 70, depending on where you lived in the world. That was a range, right? 55, that's unheard of in aquariums right now. But if you look at guppy books and things, a lot of people are running a lot of unheated fish rooms, and they would only breed seasonally, and we know guppies to breed every month. They'd go a little more dormant. The fish were accustomed to being that cool, so they didn't get sick. Where right now, if they're accustomed to being warm all the time, they might get a little more sick. And so I think we shot right past from like, ooh, we're at 55. Like, boy, it would be good if we were at 65. Like, that would be way better. And we got technology and we're like, but 75, 78, 80 is even better than those. And I think that's where we're at today is, well, why not go 78, 80 when we could be going slower? And so for me, it might be, sure, you can drive a car at 100 miles an hour, but maybe we should be riding the bicycle to get the mail or to your neighbor's house, right? You don't need to use the car to get you there at 100 miles per hour. And so if we take that approach to our aquariums and we go, okay, well, this tank has got about 60 watts worth of lighting. That's adding some heat. It's got a canister filter, roughly 20 watts. So that's a all the time heat source, 20 watts, 24/7. So a 100-watt heater is 5 of the canister filter, right? So we've got that going for us. That will, with the top, you can see kind of the lids there. That will build up heat over time unless it's cooler in the room or something like that. So looking at the poll here, 191 votes. We can get some more votes than that. If you haven't voted, click a vote. Click that thumbs up button. Because we took 2 months off, we fell off the face of YouTube, and we need that help. So I think, well, I've been living this for a few years now of like, how low can stuff go? And every year about this time-ish so this is a transition time for me. Weather starts cooling down. I have to cool the fish room. Well, that's not true. I don't have to. I cool it for me because I don't want to be 85 degrees in here. The fish would be fine for the most part. So I cool it down, but now in the next 30 to 45 days, we'll be transitioning to maybe needing to heat the fish room. And that's where each year I set the temperature of going, well, last year I said, heat, come on if it gets under 72. Maybe this year I'm going to go, well, heat, come on if you get under 71. The store tanks, we run them where basically the lowest level tank's running at about 73 degrees. And in my fish room over the year, which if you guys have been following along, some of you guys might be brand new, which welcome. But if you've been following along for a while, you know that I put sensors on like the totes outside and some of the tanks or the banks of tanks, like the racks of tanks here. So like my guppies right now, my guppies are at 73.6 degrees. And at the hottest point at 5 a.m. when a water change happened, they were at 75, right? Because we brought in warmer water. But if I back that out over the course of the last 6, 8 months, there's definitely times where they're dipping more like 70. And you guys saw they're breeding. I'm raising fry. I'm doing all that. Let me think. I don't remember losing fish. Like, I don't remember a crash of like, there goes those fish. I don't remember that. So, yeah, I think this year I'm going to go even more reserved. And I'm hoping that I can help figure it out for you guys. Long term, I'm already thinking that I want to go with an unheated fish room. And then I'm going to be doing some more content with that. I got from someone at the Goldfish Council, I got some Bristol Shabunkins today, which is awesome. Don't need to be heated. They're a goldfish. I've got another tank with, I've got lots of tanks with shrimp. They don't need to be heated. The rosy barbs don't need to be heated. I've got other types of barbs. They don't need to be heated. Now, that being said, you might run into some other types of barbs that would. So not, I can't just say like every tetra. Like there's a lot of tetras. I know Congo tetras can go pretty cool. However, cardinal tetras typically are bred and kept in warmer, hotter waters. And so I don't want to tell you like, just put them in 68, they'll be fine. But I think, more of us can chime in, which people are doing in the comments here and saying, hey, I run this. Hey, I'm running this. I'm seeing this. And so, someone said my bedroom rack is running between 72 to 78 depending on the time of year. Yeah. I think that's healthy for the fish to have some warmer breeding periods and then also some cooler hang out and not be forced to breed periods. And so, other fish I've got living in this, I've got white clouds, Celestia pearl danios, Brigite rasboras, platies, guppies, every type of neocardinia shrimp you can shake a stick at, some scratch tetras, trying to think what else I've got over there. Pygmy cories, Cyprochroma, so Lake Tanganyika, mollies, which, by logic, if my other Tanganyikans are doing fine, these guys should do fine as it goes cooler as well. But I think plants also prefer cooler waters, and I think there's a distinction here. So if you're, just listening on the couch and you're watching on the TV and you're doing something, like there's a distinction between cool water, warm water, and cold water. The cool would just be cooler temps than normal, what is considered normal. And I consider that to be like 66 to 72. That's kind of a range. You go much below like 65 and under, and I feel like you start dipping into what fish will thrive there. Like I one time I had some struggles with plecos. They were not looking happy at 65 when they were outside. So I brought them inside, warmed them up, right? Steenfod Aquatics donating a membership. Why, thank you. We appreciate the memberships. Let's see if I can match that easily on my end. See if we can pull that off. Is that a thing? Let's see here. We'll click here. We'll click there. We'll do this. We'll do that. We will attempt to match. Membership gifting. There we go. Gonna click. There we are. So 70% of you are heating your aquariums. Which, what I want is not that you're right or wrong, because 70% of you might all own discus aquariums or might have a need for it. 30% also, on the other hand, might live where it's stupid hot year round, and so they don't need to. But what I would say is there's a good portion of people in that 30% that aren't heating their aquariums, and they don't need to be, as in like it's not super duper hot and it's running cooler. And so if we're seeing that big of a portion, that's not just like, ooh, there's one or two people out there being a rebel. Instead, that's almost a third of the hobbies not heating. I wonder how many more are heating that don't necessarily need to. And someone said you need a third. I heat some of my aquariums, but not all. Yeah, and so I think that's the I think that's the conversation is I don't recommend that you necessarily just turn all the heaters off and never heat your fish again, but maybe start looking at the fish going, could these go cooler? Typically, a big portion of like cichlids can, tetras can, danios can, rasboras can. Like there's a lot of stuff that can go cooler, I find, and especially if you're breeding. I love to test that when I'm breeding to go, hey, I've got 500 of these and I can make more. Let's see how they do if these ones are a little cooler. Corridoras typically can go cooler in my experience. Some more gifted memberships, by the way. Let's bump it up. Denise donating 5 and Jack Anderson. Denise, a 6-month member, and Jack Anderson, a 2-year member. I will match those with 10 more. Get everybody on the train. You can watch all the stuff, get discounts on the website. If I remember correctly, even the deepest part of Lake Tanganyika is 74 degrees. Right. So I think that ideology or research or whatever is what leads our thinking. But let's say you take the temperatures in Washington where I live, and you go like, yeah, humans like anywhere between 25 and 100. That doesn't really make sense because that's not what we like. We might love San Francisco. It's always 72. Or we might like it where it's more tropical. So I think because a species can live in it, I'm not sure that we see that they have to live in it. Now with saltwater, I think we do see a little more of that. Like there's been so little variation for so long that they can be more finicky. However, a lot of our fish might come from rivers and shallower lakes and things like that. And cichlids in general tend to be pretty hardy. I know I've run tons of African cichlids at cooler temps. The other thing I think we can draw a little bit of wisdom from is we can ship fish under those temps. Now, that doesn't mean they want to be there. So there's a big distinction between can they live and are they thriving? And I think, if anything, I would say the way we heat our tanks right now, we might be over-thriving our fish, where it's like, yeah, we just kind of got them, like, they've been in Hawaii on vacation for 3 years straight. Like, they could actually do with seeing some winter at this point. Like, they're getting a sunburn. So, yeah, some people point out that there are clearly disadvantages to running heaters. Like, they can go bad. Yep, that can happen. And I think a lot of us might experience that when a heater does go bad and maybe it just doesn't turn on. So the heater doesn't turn on, and then you find it like 3 months later going, wait a second, the fish are doing fine. I've run into that plenty of times, whether it's a store heated tank or a home personal tank. You just go, oh, well, I guess they don't need it. And I've run the same things with filtration where you're like, oh, this filter hasn't been on. I guess it doesn't technically need this extra filter if it wasn't on. I live in Texas and keep the house between 68 and 72. I took all my heaters out after a malfunction from Fluval. Hashtag tripping. Killed my mom's betta. See, now bettas, the betta police would definitely tell you like, oh, they got to be 78, 80, bro. But definitely if they're more wild, I would say they can go cooler. And I think it depends on the betta and the setup. I also think there's a big portion of a 1-gallon bowl will heat up and cool down a lot faster than a 10-gallon or a 100-gallon tank. And so there's a lot of little pieces here. And I'm really focused on just the heating element part of it. Because you could have a betta tank with no heater, but the light and the filter are making a decent amount of heat for the amount of water. So I think that I haven't seen my fish struggle with the swings in temperature. I haven't seen them. I haven't had a catastrophic loss yet. And what I mean by that is, so when the power goes out here and I don't heat it for a couple days in the winter, and the tanks get down, you guys see me make videos about this where it's like, ooh, it might be down at, okay, they're down at 62. When the power finally comes back on and the heater for the room kicks back on and everything, I don't typically lose anything. Now, that doesn't mean that it's good for them. Doesn't mean they could be doing that all the time. But that leads me to think, is 78 the right temp, or 74, or 72, or 68? And I think there's just so many fish that we can't really, like, stress test that for every species of fish. And all we can kind of do is go, I wonder if I could go a little bit lower. And over the years, maybe by the time I'm 90, I'm going, guess what? I've had years where my fish got down to 57 and it was fine. Or I found that the cutoff, 67. Who knew? Now we know. Here in Montana, once the water hits 72 for 3 days, they shut down fishing because it's too hot for the native fish. Yes, so just like trying to go collect a lot of wild plants in in USA, you bring them to your home aquarium, too hot, they die off. So I haven't had the courage to totally unheat the garage yet. I run a space heater, but only at 70, which keeps the tanks at 66 to 68 when they're on, depending on where they're at the rack. Yeah, and that's I don't even advocate for that. I don't advocate for, big drastic change. I kind of do that a little bit, but what I would say is, like, maybe each year, kind of like me, I just happen to be in this phase where I have to switch over my heating or whatever from, cooling me down to heating me up. Maybe you go, let me set it at 69 this year. And you go a whole year just having it at 69. And then you go, well, now it's been a year. How'd they do? Did I see more illness? Did I do things differently? And if you go, no, everything did great, then maybe next year you go, hey, let's try 68 and just see. And I think in a vacuum, we don't think about what is the extreme. So like when I first got cherry shrimp, for instance, 78 degrees, no predators, plants, watch them like a hawk. They're expensive. Now I know I can keep them outside year round with inches of ice. They actually do better outside with sunlight and that kind of stuff. So, but the book wouldn't tell you, the website wouldn't tell you, the forum wouldn't tell you that. You got to kind of experiment and go, well, yeah, I had them outside for the summer and I missed some. And then, oh, when it was spring, I made hundreds? Wait, what? There was ice, and you got to kind of stumble through it. And I think as we start stumbling through things together, especially with the internet being so easy to access each other, we can speed up this timeline and go, hey, I've been doing this. And I'm not saying I didn't think of it. I'm not saying that maybe 30% of you are already doing this, and I am now joining your side. I've been coming over to the Ivan in the 70, let's go into the 30. But I think when pressed, for if I put my store owner hat on, when pressed, it's easier to tell someone, hey, just do 78 than it is to not. And then also, you make money when you sell a heater, so there's some incentive there. But also, if someone's new, that's just another thing for them to figure out, where if you just go, hey, put the heater in at 78, you'll be fine. You need to learn about the nitrogen cycle. You need to learn about growing plants. You need to learn about all of these things, how the fish behave, lots. Then you can kind of move towards that. I think if we were the other way, I think if we were 70% of people weren't heating their aquariums and 30% were, it would be a lot easier to get that mentor, that local mentor, to help you through it, because they have the same experience where, if you're going, I'm only using rainwater from my roof, I'm doing a dirted tank, I'm not using a heater, I'm only keeping native fish, I'm only doing plants I've collected myself, I'm only making my own foods, I refuse to use medicines, and I'm only using herbal remedies. that becomes a very complex problem to solve for. Not that there aren't answers, but it limits a lot of stuff. And so I think for people new in the hobby, it's easy to go, hey, this is a known working setup. I don't know if what you keep your house at home is going to be the right one. Or learning like, oh, you put your aquarium in a window. Like that could be problematic. Yeah, the preset heaters make people think 78 is the goal. Yeah, I think it's a chicken and the egg thing. Like, did we decide 78 was the best? Or did that kind of become the standard, and then we built devices that did that, which then reinforced that that might be the best. So I think about stuff like this a lot of, did this come around from science, or did this come around from folklore turned marketing, marketing turned science, and now is the right one? Technically less algae with less heat, right? Yeah, I mean, things should grow a little bit less fast. I want to say it's like, one study I read just in general was like 10 degrees Celsius would be, things grow half as fast or twice as fast. So if you raise the temp by 10 degrees Celsius, in theory, stuff should grow about twice as fast. If you reduce it by 10 degrees Celsius, it should slow down by 50%. Something like that. You know, I'm sure there's outliers for species and stuff, but yeah, I think that was for plants. But yeah, I live in the Midwest. Tanks are in the basement, have heaters. Those upstairs, not necessary. Yeah, I just, what I don't, I guess the question is like, how do we know that all the tanks in the basement, it is required? And you might go, well, I tested it and I killed off an entire fish room of fish. Like, oh, that's how we know then. Okay. So yeah, I think it is a slow road to figure out, you know, what it is. What is the limits of a lot of common fish? And then there's going to be the, oops, didn't know that, like, for somehow I know that the Bolivian rams in there, they can go much, 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 much cooler than German blue rams. Not from really researching, because in theory, wild-caught rams aren't living in that hot of water either, but breeders typically keep them very hot. Apistos, they typically have less problems in your aquarium the hotter you keep them. However, in the wild, they're usually not that hot. But maybe they procreate so much that it doesn't matter if you lose some. But in your own home aquarium, like, well, I just lost $50 in fish. That matters to me, and I totally understand that. The 10C rule is common for fermenting as well. Okay, yeah, so maybe the 10 Celsius rule is a big thing. Maybe science is all about it. I'm late to the party on that, which is very often the case. Yeah, I shut my betta tank heater off middle of June in my upstairs office. It's been staying 76 to 79. Yeah, and I would say, where, you know, this comes from Dave there. What's your parachute pulling moment, right? Like, what's your mental number where you're like, oh, if I check that tank, oh, it's 72. Is it going back on? Or, you know, and I think each year my goal is just to move my parachute, my ripcord number, like, oh gosh, crank the heat, it's too cold, the tolerance down a little bit. And now I'm basically flirting with going under 70 from 78, because you don't, you know, like, I knew 75, I did 74, 75 for a long time. Now it's like 73, 74, and then it was like 72, 73. Now we're starting to go like, I might let it dip below 70 and just see, like, what do I see struggling? And so far, each time, I haven't seen that. Now, I haven't put discus through it. I haven't put different rams through it. There's some things I haven't stress tested everything. But enough of what I keep and you guys see on camera is just all unheated. And Jesse donating 5, or sorry, Jess, not Jesse. Jess, thanks for donating 5 memberships. We'll match that, get some more people, build this membership up. Which, by the way, there's you get coins and benefits and talks and things. There's a new member only thing. I'm dropping stuff. Kind of a new thing. We're getting low on the original OG. Oh, jeepers. Yeti. You get this at the 5-year mark, which, yes, 5 years is a long time to wait. I hear you, but makes it all the better. We had to have another run done. I don't think they're shipping out yet because we still have a few more of those. So this is the OG, old school. The new G would be this bad boy. It's got the green. It's bigger though. I'm not sure which one I like more. They're different. Like this one I can fit in the car. This one, oop. So if you get one of these down the road, and if 5-6 months or something, you'll know why. You'll know why. Like, what is this thing? It's different. And then if you've got one of the OG ones, then you got the original. You got the old school. They're not for sale. You gotta just, we just thought, hey, let's make them a little better. Why not? Better is the wrong word. It was free to add that option this time, so we added the free option of like, yes, we'll take some color. Sure. Are those gold barbs? Yeah, in the picture are gold barbs, and they are a fish that can go fairly cool water. Definitely kept them in the 60s before. So, are there heaters that simulate night and day heat cycle? Not that I'm aware of. You could definitely, I think, replicate some of that with like a timer. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of. You would think someone would lean into that because people might want to buy that. Like, ooh, I got the full sunrise, sunset, mode on the light. Let's make the heater do that also. But honestly, I think here's my honest thing I think about. I think the way most people, and most people doesn't necessarily mean you guys in the chat, could be other people. I think most people run enough equipment that they don't even, like, the heater might only turn on a little bit. If you have, you'll see that, like, oh, you got a 55-gallon tank, you have 2 hang-on back filters. Oh, and you have a power head. Oh, and you're running lights. All that wattage adds heat. The heater might only be turning on to like check itself and like in extremes heating the tank, right? But yeah, where I was going with that is in a replicating that, we're kind of already doing it a little bit with lighting in aquariums. And then 2, if the lights already get it to like 78, the heater wouldn't even turn on until, like whatever the schedule was. So maybe that's why it's like, yeah. Or is it like, it's so hard to keep heaters reliable and all of that for people anyway, let's not add layers of complication to this. Maybe that's the catalyst. Whirl Aquatics Ltd, 4-year member, 10 memberships. I wonder, I haven't seen, 4 years is a long time. Either A, you're a lurker, or B, you've changed your name, because I feel like I've never said Whirl Aquatics out loud before. So maybe you were like a fan, and then you opened up your own store or something. But yeah, I don't know that name. And after 4 years, most times I'm like, hey, I see these people commenting, and I know them. But that one I don't know. So I'm gonna match those memberships. Oops, wrong button. You get a membership, and you get a membership, and you get a membership. That's exactly how my 55-gallon is. The heater may only run once or twice a day. It's set at 76. Yeah, and so in that instance, if we were, looking at this thing in a vacuum, I would say, like, what if it ran at 75 if you never had a heater in it, but you also eliminated that it could ever go faulty? Because let's say it just tomorrow goes faulty and cooks all your fish. You get that risk with so little benefit of like, yeah, it would have been 75, but now it's 76 with the heater. I wonder, because if the heater fails and it stays off, well, that's kind of fine, right? Because then you would just have the 75 degrees like you already had. So I also like to remove equipment from the tank and things like that. Of just like, yeah, let's have less stuff in the way. So Whirl also sent a super chat. Uh-oh. Am I failing my duties here? Yes. Sorry. A huge thank you to Candy and the team for all the support and getting your merch to me in the UK. Nice. Now I have my 4 years worth of membership coins. I'm sure that's a special thing, so just know that they probably had to use a transshipper to pull that off. We will try as hard as we can, but international shipping, well, especially right now, is an absolute nightmare. So we will do what we can to help, but also know there's a limit to what we can pull off, what kind of magic we can pull off here. But if you live abroad and you go, hey, I want to place like one order, I've got someone who's going to forward it, you could email customer service and say, hey, I've synced up my account. Can you make sure that the appropriate amount of coins and tags and everything on the account will work? So when I place this order, it'll add them all and get them sent to where they need to go, and our people will try their best for you. Corey living his best Oprah life. That's right. I just got 2 CJ 100 watt heaters for my 125, the ones with the phone tap feature. I have a 3D background, so I can't put